Most people use a computer every single day without ever thinking about who made it possible. But what if one man's obsession with code helped shape the entire digital world we live in today? What if the software running your laptop, your school computer, or even your workplace traces back to a teenager who believed computers would one day be everywhere? This is the story of Bill Gates, not just a billionaire, but a man whose vision quietly changed the course of human history. Before Microsoft, before Windows, before the idea of a personal computer was even normal, Bill Gates was just a curious kid with an unusual way of thinking. Born on October 28, 1955, in Seattle, Washington, William Henry Gates III grew up in a family that valued education, discipline, and debate. His parents quickly noticed that Bill was different. He asked endless questions, loved reading complex books, and enjoyed challenging authority with logic rather than emotion. He wasn't trying to rebel, he simply needed answers. One decision made by his parents would later prove to be life-changing. They enrolled him at Lakeside School, a private institution that, by pure coincidence, had access to a computer terminal in the late 1960s. At a time when computers filled entire rooms and were used only by governments and universities, this was extremely rare. Most students were confused or intimidated by the machine. Bill Gates was fascinated. From the very first moment, he felt drawn to the logic, structure, and endless possibilities of programming. He began spending every free moment in the computer room. Hours turned into nights. Nights turned into obsession. Bill didn't just want to use the computer, he wanted to understand it completely. He made mistakes, crashed systems, fixed them, and learned faster than anyone around him. Teachers worried he was spending too much time on computers. Bill didn't care. He could already see something others couldn't: computers were the future. At Lakeside, Bill met Paul Allen, an older student who shared the same passion for technology. Paul was calmer and more reflective, while Bill was intense, competitive, and relentlessly driven. Together, they formed a partnership that would later become legendary. They talked endlessly about computers, the future of software, and how technology could reshape the world. While others dreamed of traditional careers, Bill and Paul dreamed of a world powered by code. Years later, Bill Gates enrolled at Harvard University, one of the most prestigious schools in the world. To most people, this would have been the final destination, proof of success. But for Bill, Harvard was only a temporary stop. He continued coding obsessively, often skipping classes to work on software projects. His mind was no longer focused on grades or diplomas. It was focused on opportunity. That opportunity arrived when Paul Allen showed Bill an article about a new personal computer called the Altair 8800. It wasn't powerful, it wasn't user-friendly, but it represented something revolutionary. Bill immediately understood what it meant. Personal computers were coming, and they would need software. Without hesitation, Bill and Paul contacted the company behind the Altair and claimed they had already developed software for it. In reality, they hadn't written a single line yet. What followed was a race against time. Working day and night, they created the software from scratch. Against all odds, it worked. That moment marked the beginning of everything. Bill Gates made a decision that shocked many around him. He dropped out of Harvard. He believed that real-world opportunity was more valuable than any degree. Together with Paul Allen, he founded a small company called Microsoft in 1975. The early days of Microsoft were intense. Bill Gates was known for his laser-like focus and high expectations. He demanded excellence, questioned every detail, and pushed his team to their limits. Some admired him. Others feared him. But there was no denying his vision. Bill believed that every home and every desk would one day have a computer, and Microsoft software would run on it. The breakthrough came when Microsoft secured a deal with IBM, one of the most powerful technology companies in the world at the time. Microsoft provided the operating system that would later become known as MS-DOS. Crucially, Bill Gates made a decision that would define his success. Instead of selling the software outright, Microsoft licensed it. This meant that as personal computers spread across the globe, Microsoft would grow alongside them. Then came Windows. It wasn't perfect at first, but it changed everything. Suddenly, computers were no longer only for experts. They became accessible to ordinary people. As Windows evolved, Microsoft became unstoppable. By the 1990s, Bill Gates was one of the richest men on earth, but wealth was never his main motivation. Control, impact, and scale mattered more. However, success came with controversy. Microsoft was accused of aggressive business practices and faced major antitrust lawsuits. Critics argued that Bill Gates was crushing competition. Supporters claimed he was simply playing the game better than anyone else. Through it all, Bill remained focused, logical, and unemotional. To him, business was a strategy problem, and he intended to win. Then, something unexpected happened. At the peak of his power, Bill Gates began to step away. In the early 2000s, he shifted his focus toward philanthropy. Together with his wife, Melinda, he founded the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Its mission was ambitious: to tackle global problems like poverty, disease, and lack of education. Bill applied the same analytical mindset he used in software to solving real-world issues. He studied data, asked hard questions, and invested billions into vaccines, healthcare, and education. To some, this transformation was surprising. To others, it made perfect sense. Bill Gates had always been driven by problem solving. The scale had simply changed. Instead of computers, he was now trying to improve the lives of millions of people worldwide. Today, Bill Gates is no longer the face of Microsoft, but his influence is everywhere. In technology, in business, and in global health. He remains a thinker, a reader, and a man constantly trying to understand the future. Whether admired or criticized, one thing is undeniable: the world you live in today would look very different without him. And it all started with a teenager who believed that computers would change everything, and was bold enough to make it happen. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. You can also share your opinion in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.